Welcome to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. Fresno is the heart of the Central Valley, and the Central Valley is the heart of the great state of California. A lot of heart going on here, a lot of good things going on here, a lot of creation taking place in this part of the world. Great energy, great place to be, and right now, right here, it's a great place to be wherever it is that you happen to be. You know, as you started this day, I hope you claimed your good before you opened your eyes. You deserve it. It's a gift that was given to you today, that you may take this day, experience this day, express this day, and live it in the purpose of your life experience and expression, and that is to express the divine that exists within you at a greater and higher degree of livingness. That's why we're here. That's why we're all here. And so today we'll get into, actually, I'm going to take a break in the show today. We've been going through The Art of Life, or this thing called life, written by Dr. Ernest Holmes. And we're going to come back to it next show. And the reason why I want to interrupt that at this point as we've gone through the book, there is an incredible, very short page in the textbook on page 423, and that's entitled The Final Conclusion. It's at the end of the general summary, and it's incredible. It's incredible in so many ways. As short as it is, it encapsulates Dr. Holmes's understanding, if you will, of the purpose of a student of this science. And in truth, that's what we are. We're students. We're students of life. We're students of the philosophy of life, and therefore we are students of this thing called science of mind and spirit, or religious science, or however you want to understand it. But making a personal realization, and it has to be personal. It can't be something that is somebody else's conception, viewpoint, understanding that you intellectualize and say, okay, I can get this, I can do this. Excuse me. It has to be personal, because your connectedness with the creative source of the entire universe it exists within you as an individual expression of that creative source. That's part of what we teach, what we talk about. So as we've been going through this book, The Art of Life, and we've talked about so much our position, we've talked about the divine, we've talked about affirmative treatment. I wanted to take today and just go through this basically it's 3 paragraphs, and none of them are real long, but they're incredible. They're incredible whether you've been a student of religious science for a short time, you're a new student, or they're incredible, maybe even more so, if you've been a student for a long time. Because they call us to a certain thing, and that certain thing was so critical to Dr. Holmes, and that was practice. And so he starts off here, this is the final conclusion at the end of the general summary. And Dr. Holmes, he says, in conclusion, what the world needs is spiritual conviction. This was written in 1938. There was a lot of chaos in the world, a lot of stuff going on. And he made this statement, what the world needs is spiritual conviction. You know, that concept hasn't changed. Unfortunately, when Dr. Holmes made his transition in 1960, through that decade of the 50s, what he saw, what he believed he was seeing, was this growth in the New Thought philosophy, New Thought religious science concept within the organizations. More people were embodying the teaching, whether they were doing it on a formal level or whether they were doing it, on a secular level, if you will. But they were embodying it, they were putting it into practice. But there's been an evolution since that time that has not been spiritually very productive as far as the individuals that practice spirituality. Now, I'm not talking about dogma, of a specific, or theology of a specific religious belief. I'm talking about a spiritual practice connected within themselves to an understanding, to a feeling, to a realization that there is a divine, and how we choose to define that divine is very personal, but very important to our personal understanding of everything else. If we define the divine as an anthropomorphic being, then immediately we also have to define our role as being separate from. Dr. Holmes, he believed in a universal intelligence, a unity, a one mind, a one life, of which and through which and as which all creation, all life, whether it was in lesser degrees of livingness or into the highest degrees of livingness, we were all demonstrations, manifestations of this divine. So he says, again, I'm going to reread. In conclusion, what the world needs is spiritual conviction, and that's as true, maybe even more true today than when Dr. Holmes wrote that. Spiritual conviction. There's nothing in that that says it's got to be a specific spiritual conviction for sure. Because anybody that seeks to have a relationship with Spirit, God, Yahweh, Allah, however you want to relate to that, the goddess, Gaia, anyone that seeks to have that experience, a spiritual experience, as they begin to live that out in their day-to-day life expression, they will grow, if you will, a convictedness in their belief. They will grow vitality in faith of their belief, because the divine God always seeks to respond as we seek to make that connection. And so he says, this spiritual conviction is to be followed by spiritual experience. How do we look at this understanding of spiritual experience if we have grown up with a belief that we're separate from God? Okay, how do we get to that point? And it's not as important to worry about that as it is to understand that as we begin to walk a spiritual path, as we begin to affirm our good, as we begin to seek to live our day in a relationship with the divine, that spiritual experience seemingly unfolds at some point. I mentioned, I think in the last class or class before, Dr. Joel Goldsmith, and he was a New Thought teacher, practitioner, and he was his teaching he entitled The Infinite Way, but it could be infinite way, it could be unity, it could be religious science, divine science. Doesn't make any difference, because when it comes down to the basic understanding of the truth, that understanding of what we call the truth is that God is, and God is all that is. So that as we practice the presence of God, what we are in a sense doing is realizing the truth of all creation, that all creation is part of and created by and an expression of that which we call God, first cause, spirit, okay? That's our heritage. That's our relationship to creation, going back to the beginning and continuing to wherever else creation moves to. But there is no end. And when I say in the beginning, that's only because we put that in humanistic terms. God is infinite, and God exists beyond, outside of space and time, but as a creation of the divine, creation of God, expressing our individuality as the purpose of our life experience, that we are God expressing as us. I used this metaphor, I think, last week, because one of the things people get kind of lost in this idea of unity, oneness, is a feeling that maybe the individualism that we seek to express, as each and every one of us do, that somehow that gets lost in the mix, if you will. Think of, and the metaphor I used was, think of an incredible, like a diamond. And only this diamond is infinite. And each facet on that diamond shines. But it is an individual facet, but still part of the diamond. That's kind of our place in creation, if you will. We're each a facet on the infiniteness of God. Our purpose is to shine. We were created to shine, just like each facet on a diamond is created to bring forth more brilliance in that diamond. We were created to bring more brilliance in consciousness through our expression in this thing that we call life. And in so doing, we are living our purpose. We're living the expression of life that we were created to live. And we live at the highest, greatest degree of livingness that is available to us. And we have everything that we could need, want, and desire to live at that level. We're going to take our first break, and I'll see you when we come back.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love Forbes brings to life the struggles of historical women in early America. Find the Saga of Bridget and Amanda on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and order your copy today.
Hello everyone, my name is Miss G. I offer fun and affordable promotion and advertisement on my talk show. It is called Fresno Vibes. We talk, we play awesome music. I also feature a bunch of different bartenders from different places. I like to have restaurants. I like to have any event, any kind of fun stuff. Contact me at rmgmissg@gmail.com and we will have so much fun and we will promote your business, promote your event right here on my show. So contact me. We'll have fun. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Chris DeVold. Tune in every Friday night on CentralValleyTalk.com when I bring you Sex, Drugs, Chris DeVold, where I'll give you 3 guesses on what we talk about. And I also vow to bring you 1 live local music act a week. So tune in every week because you never know what kind of music you're going to hear right here on CentralValleyTalk.com.
A dynamic litigator, in-tune listener, and forward thinker with almost a decade of experience, Nasser Nekomanish is a skilled attorney servicing clients throughout the Central Valley. When you need a lawyer, call 559-441-0114 and ask for Nasser Nekomanish.
Today, we bring you the first part of our global broadcast exclusive conversation.
The streets of Tahrir have once again been filled.
Key issues here at the United Nations Climate Change Conference remain unresolved.
Police are saying the protesters to move further and further away.
I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!
CentralValleyTalk.com.
So welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling. So I'm going through the final conclusion at the end of the general summary today. We're taking a break from our book study. And I was talking about the need for spiritual experience, and I just wanted to read a couple sentences from something that Holmes wrote entitled The Need of Spiritual Experiences. And he says, "We need spiritual experience, a first-hand knowledge of life and reality. There is no medium between God and man, nothing between life and living, between heaven and hell, but an idea. But an idea has no real value until it becomes an experience." Okay? He says we need spiritual experience. We shall never know peace until we embody it. We shall never know truth until we become truth. And we cannot know God unless we sense it within our own being. And Holmes firmly puts that place within our own being, within ourselves, because truly there is the only place where we can have that spiritual experience that he's talking about. And he goes on to say, in the final conclusion, he says, I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle, prove the basic teaching, than to have him or her repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. All the words of wisdom, no matter what, no matter where, in its entirety. Holmes says it's more important for us to put into practice this philosophy than to try and seek to enhance our intellectual knowledge, if you will, of what God is, what spirit is, what creation is, being able to have a discussion with someone of a differing belief or faith. That's not as important as putting it into practice. I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than to have him or her repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. And that is so true because, it's like anything else, and I've spoken to this before. In a sense, it's kind of like a skill as we begin our spiritual journey of our spiritual practices. And it's practice because with practice, we make improvement. Perfection is the divine. We'll never quite get there, but we'll continue to move in that direction. That's why we're here. So with practice, we see initially maybe a questionable demonstration, and then we see maybe or experience a questionable something within ourselves. And I say questionable because is it or is it not? But we continue, we practice, and we improve. And pretty soon we begin to realize that as we practice with improvement, the things that we see demonstrated in our life are a direct result of our own knowing a higher, greater, and embodying a higher and greater degree of truth of the divine in our own day-to-day life experience and expression. And we can see that, and we can experience it, we can feel it, and we can know it. And ultimately, when we know it, we get to a point, as Holmes said, we can know and know that we know. So he says, it is far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. Now, we can take that in two different ways. Yes, it's far easier to teach it as a teacher, but it's also far easier to teach it to ourselves than it is to put it into practice. We can read the words, we can read the books, we can take classes, we can read other books, we can pat ourselves in the back with all the things that we can quote and understand, but where are we in our day-to-day life experience? Are we at that point to where before we awaken in the morning, before we open our eyes to the day, we give thanks to the divine, thanks to God for the gift of this day, and knowing that this gift given to us as an individual gift personally, that we may shine as our facet on the jewel of creation at a greater and higher degree throughout the day. And it makes no difference, truly, what the day may bring to us. Life will come at us at the speed of life. But when we orient our consciousness to a position that no matter what life brings, we have a bigger God. And that bigger God manifests at a greater understanding that we embody within ourselves. And that is available to us, and we are able to make that connection and to experience that expression as our life. And that's part of what the master teacher, what Jesus taught. And so we go on to the next paragraph, and Holmes says, but the practice of truth is personal to each, and in the long run, no one can live our life for us. It's great to go and have a Sunday celebration. It's great to laugh and to experience joy with our fellow sojourners on our spiritual journey. But if when we go home, we have left that behind, we have to ask ourselves, where are we on our spiritual journey? What is it that we truly believe? Are we giving lip service to a belief in a power greater than? Are we giving lip service to a bigger God, that understanding? Are we really living kind of blindly as we mouth our spiritual verbiage and watch other people and think that, yeah, it's good, we can go there, we can laugh, we can have a good time, but are we expressing peace, harmony, love, beauty, truth in our life? And I've talked about this, that in all areas of our life. If you accept the metaphor of the divine jewel, if you will, of which we are a facet, there is a reality that is us, that each aspect of us is also a facet. And the thing is that if we inhibit any one of the facets to shine, we dull the whole jewel. Think about that. A personal journey, our own understanding, growing, putting into practice, our own experience expressing through us, a realization that we are not separate from, that when we speak the prayer of protection, which I do often at the end of the show, and the last line in that prayer is, no matter, all is well, no matter where we are, where you are, God is there. That's not that God is there in the same room with you. That is, God is there as you in that room. That is also God. We're never alone. So the truth is personal to each. And in the long run, no one can live our life for us. So to each is given what he or she needs, and the gifts of heaven come alike to all. This addresses one of the things that I've mentioned through this study and many other times is we are all created equally. We're all created equally, but we're not all born in equal circumstance. And the minute that we begin to author our story as being limited by the circumstance in which we were born, we essentially separate ourselves from the source of a greater good. Again, to each is given what he or she needs, and the gifts of heaven come alike to all, no matter where we are, no matter who we are, no matter what conditions we are in. And this goes to where we are as we start our life, but where we are right here, right now. People that think about or that are thinking about becoming a practitioner of this philosophy in their own life, of seek a greater good, a greater truth expressed through them, okay? But they look at their life and they say, well, it's not for me. I'm too troubled. I'm too limited. I'm too less than, or, you can fill in wherever that story may be. You may have lived your life full of hate and full of prejudice. You may have lived your life full of emptiness. And we can be full of emptiness. And you can think, well, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. But you are. Each of us is, because each of us is an expression of the divine. When we recognize our individualization, our I amness, we are not claiming separateness. We are claiming a true seat, if you will, in life, and a true recognition of God expressing as us. And our journey is going to be rather lengthy, maybe. For some, it may be more spontaneous, but it doesn't make any difference. Our journey is our journey, and it must be traveled by the individual, and no one can do it for us. So, to each is given what he or she needs. The gift of heaven come alike to all. Well, what does that mean if you're living in a great state of limitedness? Where are those gifts that Holmes is talking about? What gifts? And we can get rather cranky, to use a term. The gifts are here. They're here in potential. Now, that may be a big step for some people to buy into, but it's what the master teacher taught so many years ago. It's done unto us as we believe. So we look around, we see where we're at, we see how we're limited, we see what we are expressing in our life, and we're very unhappy with it. And the first thing oftentimes we want to do is claim victimhood of the life experience that we're experiencing. That it's life, it's society, it's this, it's that. We got to give up that story. God did not create victims, but God did create individuals whose express purpose is to be overcomers and achievers. And in order for us to do that, we have to begin by making a choice, a change in our thinking, a change in our belief. And as we do that, we open ourselves up to a potential of greater good, greater gifts. Because we are each created to express life in an incredible way, and almost everyone falls far short of the life that they could lead because they don't believe it. So at the beginning of our journey is a statement that we choose to believe that there is a power and a presence for good in the universe that is available to each and every one of us at the level of our belief and acceptance. So we'll take our next break, and I'll see you when we come back. Hi, I'm the host of New Thought Talk, Reverend Steve Walling, and I want to take a moment today and give you an opportunity to support our ministry, support our show. You can do that through a PayPal payment. You send the payment through PayPal to the email address of Madera, MADERASAC @gmail.com. If you don't have a PayPal account, you can go down below the link and you can find where you can enter a debit or credit card. I want to thank those that have supported us and those that will continue to support us. You have a great day. Bye.
Are you thinking of selling your home? Since 2004, the Souza Group, brokered by eXp Realty, has specialized in premier property listings and sales located in the Clovis Unified and North. Remember, Clean Master Emergency Flood Service, 559-213-9430, and visit cleanmasterflood.com. Pour yourself a glass of Crybaby wine, available at the market and Sam's Italian Deli. And remember to ask for Crybaby wine at your favorite restaurant.
We forget about the higher good of food, right? You're growing a product that people enjoy really all over the world. I mean, how does that make you feel?
I think about that all the time. I think about the families sitting around a table, enjoying a meal. I just see that what we do brings families together.
I mean, we're blessed. We're in paradise for food.
The Kern family of the Kern Family Farm invites you to eat delicious, nutritious, organic produce available at the Gnarly Carrot, located at 32954 Road 222 in North Fork, California. The Gnarly Carrot is a local, natural, seasonally changing market, offering a wide range of products from local Central Valley vendors. Get your caffeine fix, grab a smoothie, and support small businesses. Learn more at kernfamilyfarm.com and visit the Gnarly Carrot today. Dr. in Sukasa allows you to connect with your doctor when you need a quick treatment. Avoid a trip to a medical clinic or emergency room and connect by video with your doctor from your home, work, or anywhere. Just go to drinsukasa.com on your phone, tablet, or computer. Dr. in Sukasa provides quality care that is convenient, bilingual, and affordable, so you are never left without access to health care. Visit drinsukasa.com today.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I am your host, Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center, located in Fresno, California. So, moving forward as we go through this final conclusion out of the textbook, Holmes says, "To each is given what he or she needs. The gifts of heaven come alike to all." How does that happen? Well, like I say, Jesus said, it's done unto us as we believe. In order for us to believe that we're here to experience and express a greater good, greater degree of livingness, we gotta start with that belief. But when we live in conditions that we experience day to day that seem to justify and reinforce our story of limitation, of less thanness, of victimhood, if you will, we have to make choices. And those choices begin oftentimes at the beginning of the day for us. Claim the day, own the day. Know that God is your co-pilot, if you will. It's expressing through you. But take time each day, as I've often said. You want to pause in a quiet place where you can meditate. Meditation is not affirmative prayer. Meditation is just meditation. Quieting the mind, experiencing the peace within ourselves. Daily affirm our good. Learn how to affirm your good through an affirmative prayer, and you can go back to previous shows where we've talked about that. You can read it in the textbook. You can get this understanding. There is a potential for each of us, but it's individualized. Everything we need, want, desire in order to live our life at a higher, greater degree of livingness. So he says, how we shall use these gifts is all that matters. If we shall use these gifts just as wishes and never see a demonstration and an expression in our life, we will fall way short of the potential that we were created to express. And that's sad. But the journey is not easy. Going back to what Holmes says, he says it is much easier, far easier, to teach this, to intellectualize it, if you will, than it is to practice it. But we are going to practice, because in the practice there is improvement. In the level of improvement, there is a greater and higher degree of demonstration. In a greater and higher degree of demonstration in our life, we grow in our faith, we grow in our livingness, we grow in our ability to express the divine in our life experience at greater, higher levels. And that goes far beyond each of us as an individual. We actually begin to create the world that we say we want. Oftentimes we talk about the world that we want, particularly if we are held in bondage by limiting beliefs, and we say we want a life of abundance, or we want a life of this, or peace, harmony, and we talk about the life of chaos and limitation and lack and so on. And so that's where we're held. But we don't have to do that. We can move beyond it. It's my understanding that changing a belief is not as easy as just saying, change your thinking, change your life. It's going to take work. It's going to take commitment. But you have everything that you need in order to do that, because you have within you an infinite power that seeks to express itself through you. And that's what Holmes is talking about. How we shall use these gifts is all that matters. And those gifts and how we use them are individual to each of us. To hold one's thoughts steadfastly to the constructive, to that which endures, and to the truth, may not be easy in a rapidly changing world, but to the one who makes the attempt, much is guaranteed. And that's the payout line, if you will. It's not easy. Holmes recognizes it's not easy, but to the one that is willing to do it, much is guaranteed. How much? There are no limits. There are no limits to what we can express in our livingness of this life, other than the limits we put on ourselves. Seeking to exert control through bias, through anger, through prejudice, or any other what we may self-justify as a reasoning of any other living being, whether it be within a relationship, within a family, socially, in any way, sets the ability that we have to limit ourselves at a very low, to express ourselves at a very low level of limitation, because control is antithetical to the divine principle of abundance, of truth. We got to give it up. Giving up control, giving up prejudice, giving up bias, giving up beliefs and limitations, giving up and giving up is a journey, and I know that. And there's many tools that we can use on that journey. Forgiveness is one of them. Forgiveness for ourselves primarily. Forgiveness for others, should we feel the need to do that in order for us to get to the point where we can be forgiving to ourselves. Letting go our story. Starting a new book, if you will, a new story. A story that is not defined by limitation, but a story that is defined by expectation, of excitement, of seeking to see greater good no matter where I'm at today. You can see greater good no matter where you're at. Life can be tragic, I realize that, but we can still see a greater good when we choose to. That was one of the lessons that I learned as I studied Christian Larson, who was a teacher of Ernest Holmes going back a long time ago. And Larson made a statement in one of his books, and maybe in several others, but at first I found it rather, it was a tough statement, if you will. And he said, there's good to be found in every experience. And at that time, I could list a whole bunch of experiences where I couldn't see good that could be found. And I know since that time, there have been experiences that expressed in my life where I had difficulty, as you probably have, in seeing good. But if you keep looking, it's there. And that's a truth that I've slowly, but I have continuously learned, and my understanding is growing with each and every day, as yours will too when you seek to do that. Okay? So, to the one who makes the attempt, much is guaranteed. Guaranteed. Not maybe, not hopefully, but Holmes makes the statement guaranteed. You know, Ernest Holmes was an incredible man. You know, he was probably the greatest living mystic in the 20th century. He was a student. He was a teacher. He was an example. And the world was a lesser place as a result of him passing. My personal belief is, with the passing of Dr. Holmes, some of the energy, some of the ability to believe that's been a part of religious science may have been lost to some degree through some parts of the philosophy, if you will. But we can reclaim it. We can declare it. You know, Ernest Holmes believed that this philosophy, which is available to all, that can be utilized in any particular organized religious belief, if you will. But as people, individual by individual, begin to recognize the truth and accept truth as the foundation for their life expression, that as they up-level their consciousness, when enough people in the world were to do this, or are to do this, that the entire world will change. And there are other philosophies, that, like the teaching of the 100th monkey, or morphogenic field, or the Maharishi effect, and other individuals, they put forth these things, that there is evidence to assume that there is truth there, and that truth is available to us. That makes each and every one of us kind of individually responsible for our part of creating a greater and better, more abundant, more prosperous, more peace, more harmonious world, not only for us to experience and express, but for everybody. And if that's not an incredible idea, well, I don't know. That siren went off just at the right time. So there you go. We're going to take our last break. I'll see you when we come back, and we'll finish this up.
Hi everyone, I am Sparkle Sujin with the Everything Sparkle Show. Tune in every Thursday live at 4 p.m. You will see people that are motivational, inspirational, inspiring, and of course, entertaining. We have a great time. We learn things about how big celebrities are inspiring big names here in Fresno. Hugh Hefner is the reason we have Fresno Magazine, and Gnarly Charlie got his start because Johnny Carson told him to. So, tune in, you'll learn something new, and have a good time.
Visit the beautiful city of Exeter and visit exeterchamber.com. The Chamber's mission is to promote, support, and enable Exeter to prosper, creating a strong local economy, promoting community, and providing networking opportunities. Follow the Chamber on Facebook and Twitter, or give the Chamber a call at 559-592-2919. Call PG's Catering for all your special occasions. Available to cook any variety of foods and desserts that will leave your taste buds wanting more. Call 559-558-2682 and follow Peaches on Instagram and Facebook.
Is everything in life draining you? Come to Stretch 360. Our professional staff can offer you many options for relaxation, like deep tissue or hot stone massages, infrared medical grade sauna. Once you leave us, you'll look and feel like $1,000,000. Stretch 360. Relaxation is only a stretch away.
Call Nicole Hamilton McManus at 559-917-3040 to buy this perfect, romantic, rustic ranch with a 2-home setup. Located only 12 miles from the entrance to Kings Canyon and Sequoia National Parks. This beautifully maintained property boasts of amenities and custom features. The main home is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,670 square feet. The guest home is 2 bedrooms, 1 bath with 1,163 square feet. Also features a 75-foot lap pool, a cabana, a beautiful garden, and 2 small nearby ponds. Call Nicole Hamilton McManus at 559-917-3040. The Art of Becoming Who We Are in Christ by Jolene Kennedy is a book about the process of maturity as we find our true identity, since God's promises must be received, embraced, and activated within us. Get your copy today and check out JoleneKennedy.com. Fleet Feet Fresno is more than just a running and sportswear store. Fleet Feet Sports' mission is to provide runners and other active Fresnans with gear that fits their individual needs, training that helps them reach their fitness goals, and races that satisfy their competitive spirit. Get to know Fleet Feet Fresno today.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to the last segment of today's show, New Thought Talk with RevSteve. We've been going through the final conclusion in the textbook to be found on page 423. And because in this short section that Holmes wrote at the end of the at the end of the general summary. He managed to encapsulate pretty much everything there that we should, in my opinion, apply to ourselves each and every day as we traverse our life experience, as we move down or up our spiritual pathway, and as we make a decision to experience and create a greater degree of livingness and a greater degree of livingness around us through that day's experience. To those who make the attempt, much is guaranteed. That's his clarion call, if you will, to each and every one of us. Make that attempt. He says, the essence of spiritual mind healing. And spiritual mind healing was the foundation of what Holmes called religious science. It wasn't organized spiritual or religious organization or philosophy. It was a recognition that within each and every one of us, the divine principle as the life energy itself and consciousness lived and sought to express itself, and that as we developed a greater degree of understanding of that within ourselves and sought to express that understanding in our day-to-day life experience in what he would call learning or expressing truth, that we would experience a greater and higher degree of livingness. In other words, we'd live life, live it more abundantly in all areas, but in all areas as we individually define that, because our facet on the great jewel of life is individual to us. So for some people it could be being a rock star, for some people it could be being a student, being a journeyer, whatever, okay? The essence of spiritual mind healing was a concept that he taught that the individual could incorporate into their life, connecting with that inner understanding and that inner expression of the divine principle. He says, and of all true religious philosophy is an inner realization of the presence of perfection within and around about. In other words, we are surrounded by, we are immersed in, but we are also an expression of the divine. There's no place, no space, if you will, where God is not. In the beginning there was God and God only, and from that beginning all things were created. And it's not God and nothing as if nothing was something. In the beginning was just God. Today there's just God, but God expressed in so many creative ways, if you will, and we each are one of those creative ways. We were created in the image and likeness, in the nature of the divine. What a concept. And our life in society has so often told us basically the opposite of that, if you will. It's taught us that we are separate from, less than, can't do, and out of that, we've learned limitation, we've learned lack. But what we've learned, we can also unlearn. And that was Dr. Holmes' purpose in his teaching and in his writing, and particularly in writing what we call the textbook. He says, all true religious philosophy, there's an inner realization of the presence of perfection within and around us. And you look at yourself and say, well, maybe I'm a long way from perfect. Well, maybe you're expressing a long way from perfect, but you are the divine perfection, expressing as you. And if you're not at that level of perfection, my friends, isn't it time to make a choice, make a decision? Choose to live differently than you've been living. Choose to embody and embrace a greater degree of livingness, to see the divine principle expressing at higher levels through you. Choose to take your faith from wherever it's at and demonstrate it in an incredible way of vibrancy, of power, I've said throughout this, as I've talked about, faith is not something that we accumulate, like we can get a bag of faith or a box of faith. Faith we have, just like we have energy. But we can't express the energy that's available to us until we begin to practice and utilize the body so that we strengthen it and we grow in our understanding of that, and we can express a greater and higher degree of energy. And faith is the same way. We have all the faith that we could ever have, ever need, but if we've let it get, I don't know, I'll use the phrase kind of fat and lazy, then we get fat and lazy out of it. But as we begin to put in our practice, we grow our vitality in our faith. As we grow our vitality in our faith, we grow our strength in our belief. As we grow our strength in our belief, what's done unto us as we believe also grows. In other words, the demonstrations, the manifestations we see in our life. It's up to us. The responsibility is ours, not something anybody else can do for us. You can't point to the outside and say, you or it is responsible for my success or my happiness or my anything else. You want to find the cause of your success that hasn't shown up in your life? Go within. It's there, waiting to be put into practice, waiting to be utilized, waiting to be expressed so that you can express it at a higher, greater degree. You're unhappy, you're, whatever. You don't feel like you're enough. It's not someone or something outside of yourself. Not only is the seed within yourself, so is the fertilizer, if you will, so is the food, and so is the ability to grow it. But it starts with a choice, and it only continues with commitment. Going back to what Holmes says in the first paragraph, I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than to have him or her repeat all the words of wisdom. In conclusion, what the world needs is spiritual conviction followed by spiritual experience. But we've got to get ourselves in that consciousness to put it into practice in our lives. Stop telling other people how they got to live. Stop requiring other things outside of yourself to be, do, or have in order for you to express yourself. As you grow within yourself, the outside world will take care of itself in amazing and positive ways. So it is the hope. Okay, we close off with this last sentence. Holmes says, it is the hope of heaven, the voice of God proclaiming, I am that which thou art, and thou art that which I am. As we recognize the truth of who we are, we realize, accept, understand that God is not beyond us. God is not something, being, energy outside of ourselves that we've got to find our way back to. But God exists at the very core of our being and seeks to express in our life each and every moment of each and every breath that we are not alone. I was talking to someone last Sunday about this concept of aloneness, that when we're faced with some kind of a conflict or an obstacle, and we say, well, I've got a bigger God, and we puff our chest up. That's fine. But if you haven't been putting it into practice, chances are you don't necessarily believe it at the level that you might need to in that moment. Through practice, we grow improvement. We grow in strength. We grow in inner vitality. It is a spiritual journey that we call our life. It is a spiritual expression that we meet each and every day as we open our eyes to the day. So before you open your eyes in the day, proclaim that this is a gift of God for which I am grateful for. No matter what life brings at me throughout the day, it's still a gift. I am always grateful. I have a bigger God than any challenge. I can step up to the plate, and at the end of the day, no matter what I've experienced, no matter what has gone on, no matter what my expectations and consciousness might have been for the day, I can recognize that the day has given me so much to be grateful for. A lot of people don't have that, but it's our gift. We accept it. And in that acceptance, we make a certain declaration within our own consciousness and own beingness. So I hope that this has been good for you as we've gone through this study to take this break. It's something that came to me last week, and I wanted to take this time and cover it. And there's so much more we're going to be covering. And, Mike put I believe he put the banner up for our YouTube address or our email where you can contact me. Please do. I enjoy hearing from you. I enjoy answering questions. It's your life. Live it to the highest, greatest degree. Claim your good. And as you go through the week, know that the light of God surrounds you, because it does. The love of God enfolds you, because God can't do anything other than love. Light of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. It does. It really does. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, wherever that is, God is there. And God is there. And if God is there, all is well. Have a great week, my friends. Thanks for being with us. I'll see you when I come back.